Hi everyone, MR Assassin here, and welcome back to Brain Booster, where we discuss the latest news on science, technology, gaming, and other brain-boosting topics. We are in mid-August 2019, now let's begin. For our first topic, if you're a podcaster, you would be interested to hear that Podcast One is launching a free hosting platform for podcasters. So the platform is called Launchpad DM, and the DM stands for Digital Media. They said they're offering to partner with podcasters that are performing well, and provide them with all the resources the network offers, which includes production, talent booking, promotion, dedicated sales team, and so on. They offer free unlimited hosting, access to analytics, which is like listenership, geography, device data. They say you'll have total ownership of direct monetization channels for a podcaster's subscriber base. And you have complete control over how podcasts are distributed, so you can put it onto Apple, Spotify, and a few others. So of course, to be free, Podcast One does have the ability to insert pre or mid-roll ads to your podcast, and they say that the ads won't be longer than 2 minutes per episode, and you can determine the location of the mid-roll ads when you're uploading. It won't be like abruptly cutting to an ad. You can say, hey, I'm gonna go for a break, and then you can put the ad there. Podcasts aren't really my thing. I like to see the face of when they're talking. For example, H3 podcasts, I don't listen to it. I like to watch it on YouTube. But I do know lots of people that do enjoy podcasts where they listen to it on the train or while driving or doing things around the house. So it's nice to see that there is a new option out there for those that are interested in creating their own podcasts, and it's free. It makes it easier for people to get into the business if there is no upfront costs other than the microphone, for example. For our next topic, the company Backblaze has released hard drive reliability results for their second quarter of 2019. From the results, it's worth noting that Seagate did not perform well this quarter, with the highest level of drive failures. In terms of lifetime performance, which is 6 years of testing, the 12 terabyte HGST comes out as the least failing disk. HGST is owned by Western Digital, by the way, but they had a failure rate of 0.37% annualized failure rate, whereas the Seagate's 4 terabyte model had the highest with 2.72% failure rate. They also highlighted the impressive performance of Toshiba drives. They mentioned that they didn't have quite enough drives to make a good statistic for Toshiba, but the models that they did have had no failures whatsoever. That was the 4 terabyte model and the 14 terabyte model. When I was reading the comments of this article, it seemed like it was a mixed bag of whether or not people agreed with this statistic. They'd either say, yep, this is exactly what I experience, and Western Digital is always better, Seagate has always been horrible. And then there's also people that are like, well, I'll never buy anything other than Seagate. Seagate has always been great for me, I've never had failures, and so on and so forth. From my personal experience, this does match of where Seagate was always the least reliable. I had a job of where I would wipe the drives and put in new RAM and put in a new operating system and distribute it to schools. And I found that Seagate was always the least reliable. But that was a long time ago and things could change. But this stats kind of shows similar performance. Do you guys have a preferred hard drive? Let me know in the comments below. For our next topic, AMD has landed some high-profile customers, Google and Twitter. So on Wednesday, August 7th, they released a second generation of their processor chip. That is the second generation EPYC server chip. So Intel, which makes their chips in their own factories instead of relying on contractors like what AMD does, they are behind schedule delivering their chips, and they plan on releasing their chips next year. AMD definitely took advantage of that delay and got some really good customers there. Google did confirm that they are using the second generation EPYC server chips for their internal data centers, and that Google will offer it to external developers as part of its cloud computing offerings later this year. This is the first time that Google publicly acknowledged using AMD's EPYC chips. However, even though AMD did just get these 2 new customers, Intel does still own 90% of the market, and Intel still does have Google and Twitter as customers. I said in my last Brain Booster that I'm a fan of AMD, and I still feel that way, and I'm glad to see that there's competition in the processor market. I think Intel has ruled for a little too long, so I saw this as pretty good news. For our next topic, there is a study published this week from the journal PLOS1 that shows that the agricultural landscape is now 48 times more toxic to honeybees and likely other insects than it was 25 years ago. I'm sure everyone's aware about all the insects dying off a lot more recently, but this is the first study that's really quantifying it. So the toxicity is almost entirely due to the widespread use of a so-called neonicotinoid pesticide. This enormous rise in toxicity matches the sharp declines in bees, butterflies, and other pollinators, as well as birds. These neonicotinoids accounted for 92% of the increased toxicity. These pesticides also remain toxic for more than 1,000 days in the environment, and they attack the central nervous system of insects, causing overstimulation of their nerve cells, paralysis, and death. And they're also systemic insecticides, which means that the plants absorb them and incorporate the toxin into all their tissues, the stems, the leaves, the pollen, the sap, and so on. Many European countries have banned its use, and Canada just recently banned it in 2019, which is good to hear that they're banning it. There's also a few more stats here of where there was a global analysis of 452 species. In 2014, they estimated that insect abundance has declined 45% over 40 years. The numbers of iconic monarch butterflies has fallen 80 to 90% in the last 20 years. Insects can be annoying, but they are absolutely necessary for our environment. An agroecologist did mention that there are multiple methods out there where you don't have to use insecticides, and in fact are actually more profitable to not use insecticides. You can use cover crops, no-till, and other methods that increase the soil health and biodiversity. So hopefully this study gets noticed by other countries, and hopefully they have second thoughts on using neonicotinoids. For our last topic, if you've ever felt that the big high-profile YouTube stars are getting off the hook for breaking the rules, it's because they are. Just like what we see on Twitch recently, of where they're much more lenient to the high-profile creators, high-profile streamers. Some former moderators told The Post in interviews that they were given unrealistic quotas to watch several videos a day. A YouTube spokesperson said that that was a lie, but who knows who is telling the truth. There was a very obvious example in 2018 when Logan Paul showed a dead body in one of his videos, and it took a whole 2 weeks before Google did any public action. And then weeks after that, Logan Paul tasered a dead rat, in which he was only given a 2-week suspension from monetizing his content. If it was any other YouTuber that only had maybe a few thousand subscribers, that would have been instant ban and permanent ban. But he was just given a little slap on the wrist. This shouldn't be a surprise. YouTube is always just interested in making money. And in order to make the most money, they have to be lenient towards controversial YouTubers that are posting graphic, violent content, or just controversial content in general. In my opinion, I think it should go either way. If a popular YouTuber can get away with controversial content, so too can a less popular individual. Or if a less popular YouTuber gets banned for something, then the same should be done to the high-profile ones. I don't believe the number of subscribers should affect the judgment of an action. I think it should just be the action itself. So that is it for this episode. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to keep up to date with the latest tech news, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Your brain has now been boosted. Thanks for watching. Moi moi.